Democracy is dying as they shuffle in communism. What's up, everybody? Welcome aboard to Bubba's Bottom Line for Sunday, June the 25th. And of course, as I opened up with, is democracy dying? It certainly is. Between this administration, between big government and what they're trying to do here, we are seeing the life and freedoms disappear on a daily basis. And of course, the Constitution never said that we should have a government that is the number one employer in the world, nor filled with the biggest crooks in the world. And again, it doesn't matter whether you're a Republican or Democrat. You have criminals that are running this country, followed by the deep state, or maybe the deep state is the boss, the unelected deep state. And we continue to see our freedom and our lives change, and so far, not for the better. As I watch and look, what I do see is the lack of free speech, the continued growth of big government, the continued growth of big companies, and the failure of the little businesses and the small companies that create competition, that create the opportunity for us to get the fair pricing on any goods and services that we need, and the ability to have those services available to us at the ready. You can look at many different things that have started to ruin this country, and one you could look at that if you the youth in America today doesn't give a shit about this country nor about where we are headed. I think as you look around and you realize how hard your parents and grandparents worked to make this country what it is, and at one time was by far the best place in the world. And yes, it is still the best place in the world, but unfortunately, we are going backwards, not forwards. And of course, if you look in history, every major empire has failed somewhere between 200 and 300 years. And well, I guess we're right smack dab in the middle of that as we get ready to celebrate our 247th anniversary. But it is a sad place and is a sad state of affairs when you can pick selective criminals, you can pick selectivity on who is charged, and of course, obviously, we can look at what is going on with President Trump and how they've been hounding him for the entire time he was in office, before he got to that point, and after he left office. And your president, your current president, who happens to be one of the biggest criminals in the world, with his entire family of criminals, and of course, he is also a known racist that is running our country. Of course, I think if you really believe that he is running this country, well, then I guess you're lost in space anyways, because he's not even a figurehead. He is just a Charlie McCarthy, okay? And if you know what that is, okay, he's got a ventriloquist behind him speaking at all times, telling him what to say, because half the time he doesn't know where he's at. But as I said, he is a known racist, he is a known hater, and he is a known criminal of taking bribes and handling and funneling money through the Biden family. But again, we can see the sudden change, and it's really not that sudden, okay? And it didn't start just yesterday, the actual destruction of this country. I mean, it's been going on as we continue to let the debt grow well out of control. I think that, you look at the potential time bomb of debt, which is allowing and creating the need for the digital currency, which gives the Federal Reserve all that much more power. And of course, the Federal Reserve, which basically feeds the banking system. And now, of course, you hear Chair Powell telling you that we need to update our thinking on the liquidity regulations. Well, again, the banks don't really follow true regulations. We know what the regulation is, and we know that that is often violated. And again, as I have said repeatedly on these airways, that the more they tell us how strong and good the banks are, the more I will tell you that they are well over leveraged and well past the problem. And of course, the good news, you and me, the American citizen and American taxpayer, are going to get the privilege of bailing out those pieces of shit once again. I mean, from the phony statistics on murder and other things that we see in the blue states, okay, and this is a red and blue issue, okay, the blue states by far lead the murder rate in this country. Okay, the blue states who want to eliminate guns and try to get them out of these citizens' hands lead in violence and lead in damage. And of course, part of it is because they're so openly welcoming the criminals and the illegals, okay, or the illegal criminals, okay, into their states and cities. And of course, you know, the biggest example is, and there is no stronger gun regulations than there are in the city of Chicago. And of course, you read about them each and every week. And of course, you've got the communistic style of government we have now seen we're switching into, where we get no say, we get no power, okay, but we do get more taxes, okay, either through the regular channel or through this phony BS inflation that has been created from the Federal Reserve standpoint, telling us that they must get this down to a 2%. And of course, they are destroying this country with these higher rates that are not called for in an effort to slow down growth, the ability to make money, and the ability for a small guy to exist. You know, if you looked at the situation logically, you could see the case that I am making for you right now. Okay, you know, I think that, you know, from the COVID lockdown, which, as I called COVID from day one bullshit, and I still call it bullshit. The woman who maintained the position to keep the country shut down, to keep schools locked down, destroying an entire generation of children, okay, just got appointed to the Homeland Security role. Now, again, I ask you, is that really the kind of people we want in charge of our country? Okay, I mean, you know, you're seeing issues throughout the globe, and if you don't think they can't happen here, you better think again. We are now starting to see not only the war in Russia and Ukraine, which is really no longer a war, it has become a profit center, but now within Russia, you are having, you know, some sort of a civil war. Okay, so not only are they supposedly fighting Ukraine, but there's infighting going on. Okay, and I think that, you know, the UK is poised to become and have the highest interest in the world. Okay, highest rates in the world. I mean, I think when you look at the endless lies we hear from the left, like in California, about what's going on, and of course, if you look at San Francisco, don't think that can't be the rest of the country. Okay, so we continue to watch, and unfortunately, too many sit idly by and refuse to get out and vote. And I'm not telling you who to vote for. I'm telling you that you have to really look at the situation And I think when we look at a recessionary environment, and as we look at the country, I think you have to look inside of your own home first. Okay, the destruction of the family unit, I think, is a big cause for what we see going on in this country. But the criminality, the stealing, the shutting down of many stores in many areas, because they give you an excuse of X, but we know it's because of the high crime areas, because we really no longer have law and order. We really no longer fight crime because we're too busy worried about either defunding or prosecuting our police. So all you are doing is opening the door for more trouble and for more destruction of the United States of America. And again, for me, as I've told you many times, I won't be around when it all really hits the fan. But if you're worried about your kids, about your grandchildren, then it's time to speak up and wake up, because the party in power today is stealing your freedom. Okay? And again, I do not forgive the Republicans either, because they are just as culpable and just as guilty at many of these things that we're talking about, and all in their own self-interest. And I think this is the issue that we have to look at as Americans first, right? We're not Democrats or Republicans first. You should be an American first, and you should care about your country, and you should care about your children and grandchildren and what you are leaving for them. Because I know that my parents, my grandparents didn't fight or struggle to get to this country to bargain for what we see today. And I think if you continue to let it happen, we will be just another communistic country run by a dictator. This is Bubba's Bottom Line, Todd Bubba Horowitz, and it is Sunday, June the 25th. We're going to stop out here for a break, and we'll be back with more right after the break. Well, kids, what's up? And of course, markets have been a little crazy, but as you know, I do give you who I use as my own brokers, and of course I have many brokers, but two that I recommend and think that you should certainly consider for many, many reasons. But Capital Trading Group, listen, they are the best at what they do. They've got the best customer service. They are fairly priced. They are there to help you. They are there to answer your questions, and they do pick up the phone, not like many of the others. And I think that it's very important to you that you have good brokers when you're in business. And I think that also remember that if you trade both futures and equities, that you need separate brokers, because futures brokers typically specialize in futures and equity brokers specialize in equities, and you should get the best service and use both, because it will give you the best service, the best price, and the best execution. In the meantime, Capital Trading Group, awesome for futures and commodities, our partners in Day Traders Dream and many other things. Check them out, info.capitaltradinggroup.com/Bubba, and of course their information on the side. And of course then for equities and options, trade your brokerage at $10 a month flat. I don't know how you can beat it. I don't know how you can even think about not using them, but again, that's up to you. But it saves me over $100,000 a year in commissions. Okay, we can automate much of your trading at no cost through the programs that we have. Our hedging can be automated at a licensing fee. But again, by paying $10 a month, it opens you the ability to use a lot of other products. But check them out, try.trader.com/Bubba, and again, they're scrolling on the side as well. And of course, our high school program. And if that doesn't tell you how bad this shape this country's in, that I can't give away the program for free and get teachers to teach it, then I don't know what else will. This is Bubba's Bottom Line, Todd Bubba Horowitz. Let's get back to the show and, of course, our market report. Welcome back. It is Bubba's Bottom Line. It is Sunday, June the 25th. Well, markets are hit a bit of a soft week, but I don't know. I got to tell you something. I think that when you look at the markets, you see a market that continues to really kind of climb higher. I mean, yes, it was down last week, but overall, I think we see the trend is still higher. I think complacency has not been this high for a long time, of course. And if you noticed or watched during the week, even with the market selling off a little bit, the VIX continued to fall. Now, I think that tells us that sets up for a very nasty, huge sell-off at some point. But that point doesn't have to be today, nor are we going to predict it is today. In fact, as you know, we are long. But again, I do see a lot of danger. I see a lot of concern. But I don't think that you want to try to outguess or outsmart or outthink the market. I think you have to either sit passively by, wait for your opportunity, as well as following the trends, because the trend is as ugly as things may be and as bad as the action has been. And I can say this, the trend action has never been worse right now. I mean, there's been too many stops and starts and too many swings inside the wide consolidation in which the market is trading. And it's a great time to be more passive and to be more careful. In the meantime, as we look at the markets, the dollar, which we would be short, okay, was perked up a little bit last week, no big deal. And of course, the euro currency, which we're long, again had a little bit of a down week, but again, nothing to change overall direction. And again, we want to remember that markets themselves, ups and downs are going to happen. And actually, if you're trending higher, pullbacks are good, or if you're trending lower, rallies are good into those things. So it does give you opportunity. In the meantime, Bitcoin, which we are now long, and Bitcoin is again finally broken over to the 30,000 level. So despite government intervention trying to ignore it and make it go away, it appears to be getting stronger, as we mentioned. Bonds and notes, were kind of mixed for the week to the downside. Again, an indication that interest rates are going higher, as we continue to tell you. And no matter what you hear or what you see, rates are going higher, and these bonds and notes should continue to get clocked, and there should be lots of profit left in them. The precious metals can remain under pressure, which is interesting. But of course, you'll hear them tell you with the higher dollar. Look, markets at some point will always price out themselves, despite the government interventions, despite the bullshit. Again, the metals are weak. It's probably a time to buy some physical. Again, paper ain't worth the paper it's printed on. Okay, but real hard assets are worth it. And I think there's no better bargain right now than platinum, which we don't trade anymore. I have been buying some, but I think that, of course, gold and silver, we be short them all across the board, which we are short gold and silver. But I do think that if you have capital, I think for your long-term investments, you should be buying some physical gold and physical silver and physical platinum. In the copper, a little bit of a sideways week, up towards that $4. We're long copper, although I hate it, and I think that copper is headed probably far south before it's all said and done. And again, natural gas, we are long, and we're getting at that time of year. We're in, obviously. The pricing is a little bit off because at 272, that only means that you're moving out farther out the curve in the expiration. But the current natural gas is still relatively inexpensive, but it is starting to trend higher. Crude oil continues to be under pressure, which again should be a sheer tell you how bad a shape the economy is in. Okay, because if it's continuing to drop, and Saudi Arabia continues to cut production because they've now done it twice, okay? And we've told you that they were going to do that, but yet they can't get prices higher, which means there's probably a third cut coming, all right? But in the meantime, crude continues to fall, and why President Biden refuses to refill the SPR is beyond me. And as we look at the grain markets, well, I mean, they were a little bit ugly on Friday. But, they had a pretty good week, and they have bounced pretty significantly off the bottoms. And I think wheat, from being the weakest, has now been the strongest. And, of course, we also see that spread between wheat and corn has gone back to normal and widened, which we did say to you that it might have been something to look at, buy wheat, sell corn. But either way, they do look better now, and I think the bottoms are in. We are long across the board, and I think we could see much higher prices there. In the meats, we don't trade them anymore because of the thinness, but cattle remains relatively strong. And again, as I've told you before, I don't think there's much room to go on the upside. If I were going to take a big shot in a big position, I'd probably short them, because the only reason that they're higher is the lack of supply right now. And if you can stomach and fight through what the rallies that might come, but I'm not telling you to do that. I'm just saying that to me, if I were going to lean, I'd lean short, just because we know the old story. They're at all-time highs, and of course, high prices will cure high prices. And hogs look pretty good, and I think hogs probably have another couple of months left before they switch out. And as you get to October, December, the prices come down. But we would be long right now if we were in them. And the softs, cocoa was higher, and we're still long. Cotton continues under pressure and is now below 80 once again. Sugar, we are short. OJ, we are long. And coffee, we are short. And again, you're seeing how some of these things are trading. Now, I do believe that the recessionary and the unstable environment is showing up through the VIX and showing up through the commodity markets. But I do expect a big move in commodities, and I expect markets to be under some pressure. Maybe not today, tomorrow, but soon. In the meantime, of course, again, we're not going to fight it, but markets are still extremely slow. Just be careful, watch yourself, and don't force action. Know that the markets will be opening in tomorrow and the day after. And you'll always have an opportunity if you have capital left to trade. This is Bubba's Bottom Line. Todd Bubba Horowitz. Let's step out for our final break and come back with our commentary. Well, kids, again, I'm not going to go through the whole pitch, but we have two big sponsors, brokers, and of course I do have many other brokers, but the ones that I prefer, Capital Trading Group and Trade Your Brokerage, and of course they're scrolling on the sides, Capital Trading for futures and commodities, Trade Your for equities and options, and of course our high school program, which we would love to, obviously donate to schools and have them teach it, but again, trying to get a union to do something is another laughable matter, and that'll be something for another day. In the meantime, this is Bubba's Bottom Line. Top Bubba Horowitz. Let's get back to our market commentary. Welcome back. It is Bubba's Bottom Line, and of course, every week I talk to you about something. And I'm wondering, when we look at what's going on in this country, and when we look at what's going on with President Trump, and again, like him or hate him, this is not immaterial. But when you think about it, why is it that we continue to persecute Donald Trump, okay, and Joe Biden, Hunter Biden, walk away with a pass? President Obama, who set back civil rights 100 years, walks by with a pass, okay? Why is it that Americans feel, or the majority of, obviously, again, or the majority of politicians feel that it's the need for persecution? Is it that they're that afraid of Donald Trump running this country once again? Are they that afraid that the weakness of Biden? I mean, they managed to, again, potentially have stole the last election. And again, I am not going to get into that, because we all know there's been hanky-panky in every election since at least 1960. But you have to wonder, as a citizen, can they do that to you? They've just hired 87,000 IRS agents. Do you think they're going to come after each individual? Between the regulatory bodies and the bullshit that they feel, and the power that they wield, you have to be a little bit afraid of what's happening when you can see what they can do to one man and a president that they couldn't do it. They can't do it to you. Think about it the next time you have something go on, and think about it the next time you're in the voting booth. This is Bubba's Bottom Line. Todd Bubba Horowitz, and of course, not a lot of sports, but we do like Florida in the College World Series. So if you like that, and of course there's the Cub Cardinal London Series, check it out. In the meantime, have a great weekend, everybody. Just be careful, be safe, and remember where you're from, and remember how great this country was. Bubba's Bottom Line, Top Bubba Horowitz, Sunday, June the 25th. Have a great weekend, everybody. We'll see you later.